This podcast is sponsored by the Tollington Arms on Hornsey Road, a bubbly pub with a Thai kitchen home to thousands of Arsenal fans every season. Open daily from noon.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Gooner Ramble podcast. I'm your host Giles, and joining me today are the videographer extraordinaire on his way to, I'm sure we'll see him in Hollywood, we'll see him in the Oscars at some point, getting some sort of gold statue for some sort of filming debut. We've got James back on the podcast. How you doing, mate? You alright?
Charles, you been drinking, mate?
If I had, it would be even a wilder introduction than that. Trust me. Hey, how you doing? You good?
Yeah, very well, thanks, mate. Thanks for the kind words. You know, if I sound a bit wheezy in this, I'm struggling with a head cold at the minute. I've had quite a few Lemsips today, but yeah, glad to be back on, mate. How's yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. Just a bit tired, but and a bit tired of it all. But today's kind of perked me up. The Italian job kind of perked me up, so happy to be on. And we've also got making his debut on this podcast, long-awaited debut. We've got Kenny. Ken, how you doing, mate? Good to have you on.
Well, it's an honour because I've always admired your show from afar. So, you know, I was just made up to be invited. And, you know, like I said, it's been one of those seasons, really. But, you know, I probably lay our decline probably all the way back to Pizzagate in 2004. And I think that's when the cracks began to show. But obviously, because I was still loyal to Arsene Wenger, I kind of sort of gave him the benefit of the doubt. But, you know, it's all positive today. We've won a football match. You know,
indeed we have.
And I think that's probably where we probably want to talk about the win for us.
Exactly. So I think we should start off there on a positive note. And on that note, Ken, did you expect us to go over to Milan and get a result in your heart of heart? Did you, on your head, did you think we would go over there and get a result?
To be honest, no, because I'm thinking one of the worst things you can have in football is losing games, because I think sometimes losing games could be a bit of an epidemic or a habit. And I think in the last few games, losing and, you know, probably loss of confidence has become a picture at Arsenal, especially away from home. So I was pleasantly surprised, you know, about, you know, how we approached the game and how we took control. And I think what it was is that, let's be honest, I thought AC Milan were probably a bit disappointing in terms of what I've expected from them. But if we probably go down in the memory bank, AC Milan have been in decline for quite a few years, especially since they last won a European Cup about 11 years ago. So it's been a steady decline, but I didn't realise it was that bad. But then again, if they got players like Barini, you know, actually getting into the squad, you know, things are probably that poor for AC Milan.
James, over to you. I mean, you know, I for one I saw this type of trepidation because, all right, Milan, as Ken said, they have been in decline, but Gattuso's come in, he's sort of made them more compact, made them more organised. They hadn't conceded in nearly 600 minutes. They'd gone on a long unbeaten streak. You know, they were looking. You know, the odds were, I mean, they had us favourites, but we weren't favourites by much. And a lot of people, including myself, were wondering, you know, this could be a really tricky time. You know, this could be the stage where we might go out. But credit to the lads, credit to Wenger. After, you know, the week we've had, to come out and put in a performance like that was really great, wasn't it?
Yeah, mate, it was a real surprise performance for me, because before the game I was thinking to myself, oh, you know, I'll bite your hand off for a 0-0, and everyone's talking about their score predictions, and quite a few people saying that, you know, we might lose this game about 2-3-0. I mean, the vibe following the recent defeats against Manchester City and Brighton, respectively, has been very, very damp. So to go to Milan, and let's not forget, with players out injured, like in the names of Hector Bellerin and Nacho Monreal, so our first choice fullbacks has been replaced by Callum James and Kolasinac. We've done really well to go out there and not just get the result, but put in such a good performance as well. Really resilient, the way we shut the game down in that second half. The manner in which we got the goals, I mean, Ozil, Ramsey, Jack are all on song in the midfield. Jack Wilshere as well, impeccable tonight. A really resounding performance, and I'm really pleased to see Arsenal put in such a, I think heartwarming is actually the term to describe it, considering all the negativity and all the pessimism that's been surrounding the team in recent days and weeks. I'm pleased to see Arsenal do that, and it's not just set us up to be in the tie for the next game. It definitely puts us as front runners to go through, and let's just hope that we can finish the job out next Thursday.
Indeed. Ken, the opening 10 minutes, Milan looked pretty good. They looked very lively. They were getting in behind us and causing us a few problems. But then, the first goal really sort of like changed the ebb and flow of the game, didn't it?
Yeah, I think in terms of Milan, I thought they were like playing with a lot of confidence. They've had a few good results against under Gattuso, but one of the things that I've probably set us up in terms of how Milan played is that I thought that in the first 10 minutes they lacked a little bit of quality in that sort of last third, and the only way they were going to sort of get in behind us if we made a few mistakes. And there was a few, at the beginning there was a lack of communication between Chambers and Mustafi, but after that I thought what Milan did was virtually playing into their hands, because what they did is they tried to press us, and when you press teams like Arsenal, if Arsenal moved the ball quickly, which we did very well, we can get straight at their back four, and I think that's what we did really well, and I think that's where the first goal was set up from, is where basically we sort of dominated the midfield, even though we didn't have as much possession as Milan did. What we did is we controlled the midfield, and that gave us kind of a basis. And when we control the midfield, that's when Mesut Ozil comes to the game. And I think the first goal was all about, Jack Wilshere, Mesut Ozil putting that very good pass out to Mkhitaryan, and then Mkhitaryan cutting in, gets a bit of a deflection off Bonucci, but it was a well-deserved goal because I thought that times even before we got a goal that we should have been maybe a goal or two up anyway.
Yeah, I mean, James, we got the ball off of their guys. We managed to intercept them midway into their half, and it was a good ball out from Ozil over to Mkhitaryan on the left, and good take, wasn't it? Were you surprised that we scored? Were you surprised with the ease at which we scored, and sort of like after that, the ease at which we sort of like controlled the game?
I was surprised that we scored, honestly, considering that you mentioned it earlier, Milan's fantastic record at the minute. I think they've conceded once in 14 games, which is absolutely sensational. Gattuso really has turned them around. And given how I thought Milan kind of, I wouldn't say dominated us, but certainly had a good few chances in that opening 10, 15 minutes where we were really finding our feet. As Ken says, there was that miscommunication between Chambers and Mustafi, and we're starting to think maybe, the cracks are still there in that defence. But credit has to go to the back four. Performed really well this evening. Koscielny looked back to his best. Mustafi looked resolute, and Chambers as well. I thought, considering I think it's quite obvious he's not a fullback, was fantastic tonight. He had a really, really good game. But that opening goal and the way in which it came about, just completely out of the blue, really good link-up play from our two probably arguably our most creative players in the team. Hard to say if the finish was, I think we can all establish it was going on target, but it just caught Donnarumma off balance with that deflection off Bonucci, and really pleased with Mkhitaryan to get his goal. Really pleased with the way he took it. Should have had another one, to be honest. He had so much time on that other chance he had. Welbeck should have had another one. We could have been out of sight, within 10 minutes of that goal. It was really, really dominant from that point. And I think, maybe, I don't want to get, in over my head, but it could just be a little thing like that in the way we played. It could be a flick of the switch for Arsenal this season. And, we haven't got a lot left to play for, but if we can wrap off this season well in not just the Europa League, but build up some momentum in the Premier League, wrap that up nicely, I think it's quite clear we're not going to finish in the top four. But if we can get some wins together, restore some morale if Arsenal is to leave at the end of the season, I know you just asked me about the goal, but to go off on a little thing like that, I think it could, there's a lot to be positive about in a way, but tonight it's good to talk about something positive, and that's why I'm going off on such a massive tangent.
Ken, that midfield, Ramsey, Xhaka, and Wilshere, performed really well tonight, and a lot of people say that you win and lose games by your midfield in the middle of the park, and for me, generally they were really compact. They were always offering passing options and the outball for each other and their defenders. The stats wise, we didn't dominate. We didn't have as much possession as them, but what we did with possession was much more penetrative. And as you said, Milan weren't apart from maybe the early chances, we really sort of like that midfield was a really good base. We sort of protected the defence, and from there we sort of set a platform to push on. I mean, why haven't we seen those three be as a? I mean, I think we can all say that was probably as a triumvirate. That was their most effective performance of the season. Why haven't we seen that more often?
Well, I think what it is that what Milan did do, which a lot of teams in the Premiership do, is that what teams in the Premiership do is that they do their homework on their players, and what they do is they identify weakness and isolate players. Now, Granit Xhaka, for a lot of opposition teams in the Premiership, it's been identified as a weakness because what teams do with Granit Xhaka, they do two things to him. They press him in order to get his sort of passing off his radar, and what they do is they get their fastest midfielder to sort of go on his shoulder and go past him, and then when you ask Granit to sort of track back and sort of follow his runners, that's when Granit's weakest, and that's probably what we've seen in quite a lot of games. Brighton, we saw it. We see it at Swansea away, see it at Bournemouth, and we saw it in the North London derby. But I think what Milan did is that they kind of played to Granit's strengths. They didn't press him, so when Granit plays his best football, he plays like a deep line creative player. And then what he does with that is that he can, give the ball to Jack. Jack will give it to Ozil. And what that does is that it stops Ozil from trying to get in the midfield and trying to dictate the game from deep, where basically he's ineffective. I think that's where Granit was brilliant today. And also, most importantly as well, his communication with Ramsey was fantastic because what they did is that they both decided when to hold or when to go up. And I thought when we grabbed control of the game, that enabled Aaron Ramsey to sort of join the attacks and help Wilshere out in terms of being creative. But I think Aaron Ramsey wasn't so much that creative, but what Aaron Ramsey did is that he gave Danny Welbeck that kind of support from deep, those sort of runs. And that's probably why I was disappointed in the League Cup final with that. Aaron didn't do that. I thought that against Man City, we didn't make Aaron's job that day was actually to support Aubameyang, and because AC Milan gave us a lot of space and we controlled the midfield, I thought Aaron was able to do that. In terms of Jack, well, Jack's just a fantastic, player. Obviously, like he's getting his fitness back, but again, if you give, us a lot of space, especially players like Jack, Mesut and Mickey Florian, we'll kill you. And I think that's what we did. AC Milan, to their peril, probably underestimated us because they probably looked at our results, probably thought that we're going to be, cunning for us. But what they didn't sort of, look out for was the fact that if you do give players like us space, we're going to kill you because we still got very good players. It's just that we just haven't got an identified way of playing football. And I think that's where we kind of fall short. I just wish we could play teams like AC Milan every week. Well, you know what I mean? And that's not a criticism of that. No, it's just that what I mean is it's the space thing where you give us space, that's when we play our best football. And I'm not sure all the teams in the Premiership are going to sort of be able to do that. Or going to let us do that.
Yeah. James was I was going to say, because Ken's talking so much tactics, I'm thinking of was. He's replaced was tonight. Ken made some really good points about the structure of the midfield, and from what I saw, there were certain times when Ramsey was falling back to make a defensive free. Whenever we had the ball, from what I could see, whenever we had the ball, we had a free at the back. Whether that was Ramsey or Xhaka filling in at the free, or maybe Chambers filling in at the back. We always had a free at the back when we were in possession. And as Ken said, Ramsey and Xhaka really did that sort of rotational, sort of deep line midfielder thing quite well. As for Jack Wilshere, I really like the way that he was sort of like. For me, he was more of supporting Welbeck up top. There were times when you could see us out of possession. He was the one pressing with Welbeck as a second striker. So Wenger really did his homework tonight, didn't he? I mean, there's lots of little nuances going on there that sort of like, obviously, Gattuso wasn't aware of, wasn't expecting, And as I said to Ken, I'm going to say to you, what elements of that do you want us to see? What do you want to see us take forward into something like, say, Watford on Sunday?
I'd like to see us stick with this midfield. I really think there's a future in Xhaka, Ramsey and Wilshere playing together. They're three players that are all of a similar age. They're all of a similar understanding to each other, and they've all got very different qualities. You've got that deep-lying playmaker in Granit Xhaka. You've got that player in Aaron Ramsey who's going to make the runs, and you've got the creative, dynamic, terrier-like player in Jack Wilshere. And then beyond that, you've got players like Ozil and Mkhitaryan, and the creativity, the ebb and flow of this team, that could be an absolute Rolls-Royce for the midfield for the next couple of years. But then the underlying worry is, as Kenny Ken says, if we're to play that in the Premier League, players like Xhaka will get exposed to a point because you still need another player in behind them. Someone like, ironically, Francis Coquelin to break play up. And I still think when we get that player, which hopefully will be in the summer, then we'll start to see this midfield come to life a bit more. But tonight it was really, really exciting. As you spoke about before, the way they gave us space in midfield just allowed our players to play to their strengths, and I want to see that built upon. And I think as well, a lot of praise has to go to Danny Welbeck tonight. Although he missed his charters and he was, from myself as well, part of a laughing stock on Twitter, just because at times he does the most ludicrous things. He does have the touch of a baby elephant, and he just goes and does ridiculous things at times that I just can't quite comprehend how a professional footballer can do what he does. But he made some excellent runs through the channels. He was constantly working hard, and he proved to be a good option tonight, especially in the absence of, dare I say, Olivier Giroud, who I think would have been starting this game if we hadn't sold him to Chelsea a month or so ago. So I think
Lacazette if he hadn't been injured.
Exactly, or Lacazette. So good options within this team now, and hopefully now Welbeck's getting up to fitness a bit more, he can be a useful and regular option in this Arsenal team. But the defence as well, I think, has to be built upon, because they played really well tonight, and to see Laurent Koscielny perform in the manner that he did, you can't help but wonder why these players aren't playing more like that on a regular basis. It's the first time we've kept a clean sheet in God knows how long. As well, James, I mentioned him before, but he has to build on what was a good performance tonight. The same for Kolasinac. Shame to see him go off, but he played well. And Maitland-Niles, when he came on, played really well. David Ospina in goal. I mean, everyone was really positive, but the underlying thing to take from this is everyone was coached properly, which
just how significant, James? Just how significant do you think the result was? Because I mean, like we'd already set it up by saying, we've been through quite a hard week. I mean, this calendar year alone has been absolutely awful. I mean, we've heard about players having their meetings. They always have an annual meeting around this time of the year, but it seems, and it didn't seem to have any effect against Brighton. But tonight, I mean, against Milan, everything sort of clicked. Do you think it was almost like they were thinking, right, this is it. This is literally last chance saloon. If we can't get it right at the San Siro in front of 70,000 fans with the world watching, we don't deserve to be here. I mean, what do you think? You mentioned earlier on that you think this, you don't want to get in over your head, or you don't want to get ahead of yourself. But do you think this can be a catalyst to sort of like salvage something from this season in terms of our confidence, at least?
Yeah, definitely. I think if we go on to get a comfortable result against Watford, which would be nice, but it would be typical of Arsenal to go and lose that game 3-0. Troy Deeney hat-trick, which would be lovely. But if we could get, another win against AC Milan next week, it would be a real confidence boost to us. And as I say, if we get a good result against Watford, and then if we do start to build momentum in the Premier League, I know I said before that, it's becoming a bit redundant towards the league, but to build momentum and to get wins alongside the Europa League is massive for us, because when we do come up against the likes of Atletico Madrid later on in the tournament, presuming we get through against AC, then they're not easy games, and it's not a competition to be taken lightly. And this is a competition that we need to win. I think it's a massive indicator for the players that they perform so well tonight, and you do have to question why they can't play like that on a regular basis. Why aren't they getting motivated? And that's a huge mentality problem for Arsenal. But when they're capable of playing like that, we really purr, and it's good to see Arsenal play like that. But as well, I do think you have to credit Arsene Wenger for tonight, because he has properly coached the team. But again, he's got to be doing that more often. Every player tonight had a designated role, and they all knew what they were doing. If every player was individually told every week what they have to be doing, then I think we'd see a different team. But that's not the case, and that's been the case for quite some time now. It's typical Arsenal. We see this kind of performance once in a blue moon. But I mean, as I say, I don't want to get over my head, but I want to see a positive end to the season. I want us to win the Europa League, see Arsene Wenger go out on a high. I know he's still got 14 odd months left on his contract, but I think we all know what the sensible thing to do is: win the Europa League and then we move on. But something can still be made of this season, even if it's not in the way that we intended it to be.
Indeed. Ken, a lot of people said, or even pundits were saying that Mkhitaryan and Ozil can't play together. Put that to bed, didn't they?
Well, the thing is that they are speaking from a position of strength. I think what they're talking about is when we don't have the ball, especially like Brighton away, especially if it's bad enough having one of your players not following a runner, but when you've got both of them, we've got a problem. And I think that's what AC Milan didn't do. They didn't get enough runners in behind us in order to test them. So from an attacking point of view, of course, if we're on the attack, which we are going to be a lot of times at the Emirates, then they're fantastic together, because what they do is they just change positions. One will go left, one will go right, one probably
come short,
come short, play the false number 9. So they're both intelligent footballers, and like I said, when you're in attack. But my problem with both of them in the side is when we don't have the ball.
Do you think that's a structure thing? Do you think that's an organisation? I was at the AST this week, and Lee Dixon said that he thought that a lot of the players that Wenger's brought in are average, but they are coachable, they are improvable if you just give them, if you drill them with coaching instructions. And I think when I think of Mkhitaryan at Dortmund under Tuchel, he did a lot. He did a lot of off the ball prodigious. I mean, you don't play for Tuchel if you don't do your defensive assignments. And I just think to myself, it's got to be a coaching thing. I mean, he's only been here. He came late January or whenever it was. So he's only been here like maybe 8 weeks, if that. And it's very early to say that they're not good off the ball. I know Mourinho has his own ideas on how you play off the ball and whatnot, and he's an ultra defensive coach in my eyes. But I just think to myself, maybe if we gave them proper instruction, we drilled them repetition, you get a lot more out of Mkhitaryan and Ozil. You don't always want to see them coming back, but just be aware of the runner, position yourself. Even if you don't tackle, position, cut off the passing lane, stuff like that can be worked on in the training field. Surely, go on.
Well, the thing is, right, is that I think we all know that Arsene Wenger's not that sort of manager. He's not a micromanager. And I think the trouble with Arsene Wenger, and I've said it many times as well, Arsene Wenger's a throwback to the 1980s. Like, you had coaches like Bob Paisley, Bill Shankly, and what they do with those Liverpool sides is that they didn't need micromanaging, because they had players like Phil Neal, Graham Souness, Terry McDermott, and they all knew their roles anyway, so they were very much managers on the field. But what's happening now is that a lot of coaches nowadays, they're like kind of tacticians. If something's successful, then you'll find a way to stop it. And I think that's what people have been doing at Arsenal over the years. And what the modern player needs is micromanagement. So like Granit Xhaka needs to be micromanaged, especially when he's playing into this game. Mkhitaryan definitely needs micromanaging, and to a certain extent, so does Mesut. If you see Mesut for Germany, what Lowe does is that he finds a way to get Ozil in the game, which means he doesn't always play him in the alleged number 10 position. He'll play him false number 9, left or right, anywhere where you think Ozil can hurt the opposition, he'll play him, and he play Ozil for the opposition, horses of courses. Arsene's not like that. Arsene's very much, well, this is how we play. Now go and play and do your own thing and learn in the field. But unfortunately, what Arsene's done is that he's created a situation where when things go wrong, and we need something from him from the bench, we're not getting it. And I think we all seem to get it when Arsene's on his knees. All of a sudden, we have a bit of a structure.
This is the thing, isn't it? It's at our lowest ebb when we don't think it get any lower, or we think it's going to get a lot worse. He somehow at some point, some way, pulls something out of the band. It's taken a long time this calendar year. But
the thing is, Giles, we're not out of the woods yet, because I think what's happened is that I think the thing is the Premiership. There is a lot of teams when they play in the Premiership. Watford are going to be no different to Bournemouth, Brighton, or Swansea. Is that they tend to play the two ways. If you play the diagonal ball against Arsenal and hit us on the wing, we got a problem.
Yeah.
And I think Watford are going to do that, because what's happening, right, is that our back four or our back five, there's too much of a big gap between our defenders. So what happens, you've got 2 or 3 people attracted to the cross, which means if the cross comes over and they don't cut it out, the centre forward has a lot of space. You know what I mean? And these are some areas which it's not going to be sort of eradicated overnight. And that's why
Absolutely not.
That's why you've got to take it as a game-to-game basis. Celebrate what we did today, which is fantastic. But don't just use it as a confidence. Pick the good things you did tonight and take them into our next few games, like defensive disciplines. You know, I'm very boring. Was is like he's very attacking.
Yeah, was Clive and them. I'm like you. I want to see.
I like defending.
Exactly.
I hate players who do not know how to defend properly, and I hate midfielders who don't track the runners. It really frustrates me.
Yeah. I mean, look, there were elements. You were talking about taking the positives of tonight. From what I could see, we forced Milan. If I look at 11's pass map, we forced Milan to play wide. We were very tight in the middle. We were very compact in the middle because they like to play in the middle. We were very tight in the middle, so we forced them out wide into the wide areas, and then we just sort of like cut them off. Now, for me, that's a template to use on Sunday, because Watford ain't going to outplay us. What they're going to do, they're going to bypass the midfield and hit it long in the diags that you're saying to people like Carrido or Chicharlishan or Kaka or go long to Dini. So they're going to bypass the midfield.
Remember Delafeo as well.
I think he's injured though, isn't he? He's injured.
Is he injured? Oh yeah, because I think because I know he was involved. Was he involved this weekend? If he's injured, I'm happy.
Yeah, he was. I did see that. Go on.
Yeah, because I think one of the things I do worry about, and what Brighton did to us, is the wing play. They Gross on the right hand side and then Iscadero on the left. And what happens is that it gets our players turning in the wrong direction. And that's the thing about our players. We're not very good on the reach street. We never have been for the last good few years since like Barcelona started. And I think that's where I think I would like us to improve, because I think when we play better teams in the tournament, in the Europa League, they're still going to be very good coaches like that. You mentioned, James mentioned Atletico Madrid. I think it was you mentioned Atletico Madrid. You've got Napoli as well, playing a lot of confidence, and they are going to study Arsenal. I'm sure Gattuso studied us, but he was overconfident. But you're going to get someone like Simeone saying, right, that's the weak link. This is where we're going to attack them. This is what they do very well. Let's stop them. And I think that's where we got sort of like I said, improve a bit more for me.
I definitely think Sunday will be a good test against Watford, because Javi Gracia's got them playing very well. James, I want to bring you back in. I know you've been sitting there patiently.
Don't worry about me, mate.
We probably bored you senseless with our little tactical conversation there. But the second goal, from what I could see, Callum Chambers, I mean, it was all about Ramsey, but Callum Chambers spotting the 2v1, down the right channel where he saw Rodriguez was out of position, and then he saw Ramsey and Welbeck bearing down. I don't know who their centre half was. Was it Romagnoli? I don't know who it was. But he spotted the 2v1. Ramsey's going to flick it over his head to Welbeck, who's passed it to Ozil, and then Ozil spotted Ramsey's run and he's put him in. That was all about Ramsey, wasn't it?
All about Ramsey, but as you say, I'm in love with Callum Chambers tonight. But the ball into Ramsey first of all to start off the move, and then the flick from Ramsey was just sensational. And then Welbeck to have the awareness to pass it into Ozil, and then Ramsey doing what he does best, getting in between the lines and making that run beyond the defence. And he's picked out by a brilliant pass from Ozil. It was a vintage Arsenal goal, something that we want to see more of. The composure to take it round Donnarumma and then slot it in. Kind of in dream world at the minute, and that was another goal that kind of came out of nothing, just so quick on the break from Arsenal. And if we can do that, when we come up against bigger opposition, and we do have to play on the counter. And I was surprised as well how quickly we broke with the lack of pace in the side, because there wasn't, apart from Danny Welbeck, it wasn't the paciest of teams. Really pleased with how we played, and yeah, that goal summed it up for me. And as well, pleased with how we played in the second half, although it wasn't, totally easy on the eye, but the way we shut Milan down and put in a very assured second half performance. No, that goal summed it up for me tonight. It was good to see Arsenal play such beautiful football again.
I think it was Ozil's 100th goal contributions, 67 assists and 37 goals or something. Is that right? Am I in the right region there?
It's 189 games, and he's been involved in 100 goals.
Goal contributions, yeah. I mean, he was vintage tonight, wasn't he? I have to say, I did also like Kolasinac because, Sunday I thought it was awful. He played on Sunday against Brighton. I thought he was pretty awful. I've not really been, I've been really sort of worried about him recently, but I think he had a really good game as well down the left until he went off. Apparently, do we know what he's got? Is it a hamstring, or do you reckon he's back for Sunday, or do you think we'll have to throw in that Maitland-Niles to there?
It's a tough one to call, mate. I haven't read up on any of the post-match stuff yet, but to be honest, I haven't really got a huge problem with Maitland-Niles coming in. I thought he was really assured against Milan when he played tonight. But the only worry is that, it's been such a stop-start season for Kolasinac, and the way he played tonight, you just couldn't help but feel that he was finally getting back to his best after, let's not forget, he had a very good start to the season. He got that goal in the Community Shield, looked very assured in the game against Leicester on the opening day, and for the most part, looked like a very good player that we had in our hands. And, we very much still do. Let's not forget, we've got the Bundesliga fullback of the year at Arsenal Football Club. And to see him get back to his best tonight and then to see him get injured, it's a downward step for him, but I do hope that he gets over it soon. It has been a big learning season for the player, but it was good to see him play with such efficiency tonight for the time he was on the pitch.
I think they said Chambers had I don't know if he tweaked his hamstring, or he's got a hamstring pull, but can't afford for that to be happen because obviously Bellerin's out for a couple of games as well now. So we're hoping we can press Chambers back into action, because if he's not available and Monreal's not available, it's either going to be a formation change, or I don't know how we're going to play it, to be honest. We're down to our bare bones in terms of fullbacks, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a situation I want to particularly think about too much. And, I was surprised to actually see Callum Chambers start tonight at right back. We actually spoke quite a bit before the game about how Çalhanoğlu and Rodriguez were going to absolutely make mincemeat of Chambers, but he really held his own tonight, played really, really well. So I wouldn't have too much of an issue with him playing against Watford, for the next couple of games if Bellerin is to be out. I think I have an odd feeling.
I hope he returns, because they said he's got a hamstring concern. That's why he went off.
It's a tough one. At the time, I thought he was just wasting time, and we made the substitution just because of that. But if he is out, then what do we do? Do we put in someone like Reece Nelson at right wing back? Do we go to a back three? It's a tough one to think about.
Indeed. Second half, Wenger said that we sort of, because of the run of games we've had, lack the intensity, and that's why probably we sort of like we retreated into we sort of like allowed them more domination of the field. But nonetheless, notwithstanding, you both said that we looked really comfortable. Really, I think they had one shot on target the whole game, which is testament to just how assured we looked. Looking forward to next week, James.
Look forward to next week.
Yeah.
Next Thursday.
Next Thursday. You expect us to wrap up the job, right?
You know what, mate? I am. Yeah, it's one of few games this season that I actually feel encouraged to go to. It's an exciting game. I think it's got a bit of a buzz around it. We got the job done tonight. I just really hope that we don't take our foot off the gas next week. We've got a couple of days after Watford to regroup for this. Hopefully we get a couple of injured players back. It'd be great if Monreal was back for that game. Even Lacazette possibly could be back for that second leg. And I'd really like to see us go at Milan from the get-go. If we play in the manner that we did tonight, there's no reason that we can't get another 2 goals in that first half. We're playing at home in front of our own fans. It should be a decent attendance at the Emirates, because this is an exciting tie for us, and we get through into the last 8. So I'm looking forward to the game, mate. I think it's going to be very much mood dependent on what happens Sunday. As I said a couple of times now, we need to get a run going, and if we could win against Watford and win against Milan, we've got 3 wins on the spin in the space of a week, and after everything that's happened, wouldn't that be sweet?
Indeed. Ken, echoing what James said, if you project forward to next Thursday, get the job done has got to be the order of the day, right?
100%. I think what's happening is that we've got to play like a proper team as well, because I think what's happening is that we ain't going to have a game. the weekend next weekend because we're at the FA Cup and you've got the international week as well. So, the players can get their rest anyway, because I think what's going to happen is that a lot of our players who play for their international sides are probably shoo-ins for the first 11 of their team as well. So I know, we haven't got a game next week, and I've got international week, and I was just saying, well, with a lot of our international players, when they go for their countries, there's not really a necessity for them to sort of, go playing those sort of games around the March time, because someone like Ozil's going to be a starter for Germany in the World Cup. So again, play your best side, because last week when we in the second leg against Östersund, look what happened there. It's showing that the intensity. Obviously, we had the League Cup final to think about, but play a scratch side, people are not motivated. You've got a bit of a banana skin in that game, didn't we?
Indeed, I do think next Thursday will be packed. Actually, I think it'll be. I think it'll be a buzzing atmosphere. I'm sure.
It won't be snowing.
It won't be snowing, that's for sure. Yeah.
When it was snowing last week, I know one guy had a toothache and went, "Well, I can't go now because I've got a toothache." One guy had a problem with his knees. He said the cold weather will affect his knees. So there was loads of medical, really good reasons.
Medical reasons. Yeah, I'm sure. But I'm sure it'll be packed to rise. I'm sure redaction will have something planned as well for the occasion. But bring it back to Sunday. What are your thoughts? Do you think we are gonna show them who's got kahunas? We're going to show Troy Deeney who's got big kahunas on Sunday. We're going to return the favour for them. Do you expect us to return the favour for them, Ken?
Thing is, Watford are really tricky. We all seem to struggle with Watford, especially at the Emirates. And I don't understand why, but I do think what Watford do is that they're very a physical side and they're very direct side. And I think we struggle against teams like that, especially in the midfield where they have big, powerful runners, and then they have tricky wingers. And then obviously Troy Deeney, like I said, he's a bit of a handful. So that's a slight concern, because I still think that Watford would look at that and think, you know what, we can beat these. They're better than us. They've got better players than us. But if we can make sure they don't get the ball out quick, get their passing range, a bit quicker and get their movement quicker, and they're not at it, then they may have a chance. And I think that's where we're going to have to make sure we kind of, not so much, be a bit more disciplined, but I want the passing to be a bit more crisper than it has been in the last few games. Because I think if we pass and move really quickly, we kill Watford. We really do. But again, it's all about confidence. And even though, we won today, like I said, if something goes wrong, like I said, if we go a goal down when the doubt's coming again.
Brittle,
I think that's the thing with Arsenal. Although Watford are not Man City, are they?
No, they're not. They're not. But like you said, last season they came over here and they beat us 2-1 or 2-0. No, did they beat us 2? I think we went a goal up, and then, or did we go 2 goals up?
No, they beat 2. They were 2-0 up, and then
that's it.
I think it was Alexander Wobi got our goal back for us.
Yeah.
In the league, and then so again, Watford would fancy their chances, but you just don't know with Arsenal.
And the thing is, also, the only 2 games we've lost in the league at home are against the Manchester clubs. We've sort of that aside, we've done pretty well against all other clubs. So our home feels pretty good. James, this will give us confidence, as Ken said, if we do the right things well and watch out, and remain, diligent, in terms of off the ball and making sure that our passes, then we should be expecting 3 points, shouldn't we?
I'd certainly hope so, mate. And I think after tonight, you'll see a different performance from the team. I think you'll see a better atmosphere at the Emirates and a general round more positive vibe. The players should have a lot more confidence installed in them, and if we go out there and play our game, obviously it's easier said than done, but we've got to analyse Watford, see where they're going to press us and hurt us. But if we dominate this game early on, get an early goal, then I think, and I would hope, this would be a comfortable and resounding win for the Arsenal. But as I say, it's really hard to call. Defeat would put everything back to square one, but let's hope that Arsenal can go out there on Sunday and get the job done.
Well, they say that, as Wenger said, confidence is you take the stairs to build the confidence, and it comes down by the elevator. So we've taken the first step on that big old staircase. Hopefully Sunday we take another step. I want to wrap it up there. I want to thank Ken for coming on, making his debut. Do come back again, Ken.
It's been a pleasure. You know, like I said, this obviously we see quite a lot of each other at matches, so obviously it was nice to do a pod with you, James.
And
obviously
in Leicester.
and in Leicester as well. Yeah, you know, I've got a bit of history there anyway. And obviously, James, I've met you a few times, and also I've done a few pods with you. And I love your work in terms of like your documentaries. They're excellent,
aren't they? Just.
Cheers, Kenny. Really appreciate the kind words, mate. Watch out for the new one coming out soon.
I do really enjoy them a lot.
Cheers, mate. Really appreciate that.
All right. And also to you, James, thanks for coming back on, my friend.
No worries, G. Thanks for having me on, mate. Always a pleasure.
And you can catch James at JECook96. Is that right?
That's the one, mate.
And you can catch Kenny at KennyKen1972. I've been your host, Giles. Catch me at _AFC_Giles. I think that's it. Or something like that. Anyway, I've got a new handle. I can't remember what it's called now. But it's been a good Ramble podcast. Been your host, Giles. Catch us on all the platforms. So all I've got to say now is, as I always say, up your Arsenal.
This podcast is sponsored by the Tollington Arms on Hornsey Road, a bubbly pub with a Thai kitchen, home to thousands of Arsenal fans every season. Open daily from noon.